Right after getting hired at Johns Hopkins Hospital back in 2008, I thought I had arrived. New graduate, making money, earning a salary. So what did I do? I went and bought used Mercedes S430 because of peer pressure. You see, some of the best lessons about wealth creation I learned through the toughest experiences. And this was one of those experiences. That one decision of buying that Mercedes ended up costing me over $33,000 in about a 5-year period of time. Fast forward to today, I have built a real estate portfolio with my partners of over $243 million. Assets that create real wealth for us. And it started by learning what not to do with your money. By the end of this video, you would understand why the car you drive means nothing, but the assets you own mean everything. So imagine this. I'm a new graduate nurse, just graduated from nursing school. After going to school for all these years and having all these menial jobs, I have my first real job with a real salary that pays with benefits and all. I thought I had arrived. I was the new big boss in town. And I love the job too. This was a job that I worked really hard to get, and thank God for some mentors that were able to get me in to Johns Hopkins Medical ICU. Because at the time, Johns Hopkins Hospital was the #1 hospital in the entire world. So imagine getting your first job at the #1 hospital in one of the toughest units in that hospital, the medical ICU. I loved my job as a nurse in that unit. It was very, very challenging, a lot of critical thinking. I got to meet some of the smartest people in healthcare. I got to work with some of the smartest doctors in healthcare, got to take care of very, very sick patients, and got to see some miracles happen. So it was a very, very rewarding job for a nurse, and I loved it. But along the way, while doing that job, earning an income, the peer pressure hit it. Especially in our community, there was this whole aura about being a nurse that meant you had to live up to that aura. Oh, he's an RN, he's an RN BSN, and all of this stuff. So that peer pressure, that noise got to me. It got into my head. I saw my friends that were driving nice cars, driving Mercedes and other nice cars, and I thought I needed a Mercedes to match up to that reputation. And that's exactly what I did. Saved up some money, went to the credit union, got a loan, not the best loan that you could imagine, and bought a car, bought a used Mercedes, nice black S430 Mercedes. But guess what? With 70,000 miles. I love the car. It drove really well when I test drove it. So the car drove really well. So I bought the car. But here's the strangest thing that happened after I bought that car. There were some places that I was uncomfortable driving the car to. It didn't feel naturally to me, that ostentatious show of wealth, or like trying to be somebody that I was not, or trying to prove that, I was somebody that was not, didn't feel real to me. So there were some times that I felt uncomfortable with the attention I was getting by driving the car. But there were other times when I really enjoyed driving the car, especially when I was taking it to long trips. If you've ever driven a Mercedes S430, it's an amazing car to take a trip to. That's where the problem started. The good thing, the thing about these cars is like when they get to a certain age, people get rid of them because after a certain mileage, that's when the problems start. The first trip to the dealership, just for maintenance alone. Now, mind you, I'm a nurse. I'm earning $50,000, $60,000 a year. That's not a lot of money in Maryland. But that was the money that I used and I thought I had arrived. That's not a lot of money. And you take it to the shop for regular maintenance. I was used to driving my Toyota Avalon. And maintenance at that time will cost maybe $30. Take my Mercedes to the Mercedes dealership for maintenance. It's a $500 bill, right? Okay. You maintain the car, you don't want it to get bad. You maintain $500 every 3 to 4 months. You go there, then the gas, it's a V8 engine. It drives really well, but it consumes a lot of gas too. And it's premium gas that you gotta put in. So what I noticed is like I am spending a significant amount of the money that I was earning, which wasn't even that much, on a car that was not producing any revenue for me. The car was actually depreciating in value at a very rapid rate. As a matter of fact, the day I drove that car off the lot, I paid about $18,000 for it. The day I drove that car out of the lot, it lost value. There's no way I could have gone back to sell that car for $18,000. I'm going to tell you how much I ended up selling that car about 5 years later, but you got to stay tuned to the end of this video to hear it, but it's going to break your heart. So you're driving the car, it's consuming all this gas, it's consuming all of my income. Then one day, I got up to drive the car and the suspension had dropped down. It had like air cap suspension, some fancy stuff that Mercedes does. So I had to get it towed to like a Mercedes specialist. $3,500. Oh my God. That's like my paycheck. That's a whole paycheck gone to fix the car. And then it started happening one after the other. This breakdown, tires are out, this and that. And it's just one repair after another after another. Like I could not keep any money out in my pocket. That was actually a time when I should have been using the money that I earned to save, to invest in myself, or to spend it on more productive expenses. Buying a car is not a productive expense, especially if you're using that car just for leisure, not to create something productive from it. Now, you could buy a car that you use for advertisement. You could buy a car that you use to build relationships, or you could buy a car that you use to open doors. For example, I recently met some guys that are part of like a car club in DC, where everybody has like Ferraris and Bentleys and all these other cars, and they meet over there. But in that community, it's a network of high earning individuals where you go and you build relationships. And one of them was telling me how he's built a significant amount of business by being part of that car club. Now, in that instance, that car could be a productive expense. But for me as a new nurse, 2008, earning about $50,000 a year, I had no business owning a Mercedes that is very, very high to maintain. It was just peer pressure that I fell into, and I went and bought this car, and it almost killed me. So weekends when I'll go out to hang out with friends, oh yeah, the car looked good, you drive it around. Yeah. Again, there's that uncomfortability, then there's that, oh, okay, I'm driving a nice car, everybody's looking at me. Then you feel like, oh, this is not really authentically me, but it's peer pressure, everybody's doing it, so you're doing it. So the car, things kept getting worse, one problem after another, after another, after another. There were even some times when the car was just sit packing because I did not have the money to repair it. Honestly, I did not have the money. Repair might cost $5,000, and just didn't have the money to do it. And I let it sit there for a few months until I could come up with the money and do it. A few years into my nursing career, I applied for anesthesia school, and I got into anesthesia school, and I was like, oh my God. And the crazy part is I still owed money on this car. During those years, I still owe the car note on this car, which I was paying every month. So I wasn't just paying the loan of the car. I was paying the loan of the car, paying for all the maintenance costs, and then the gas consumption. So this car ended up costing me almost, maybe even more. I really didn't sit down to calculate it. I got so frustrated with it, I was just ready to get rid of it and say, okay, yes, I've learned my lesson and move forward. Right. So, but it costed me over $30,000, not just in interest payment, but all the repairs and the gas and everything that came along with it. And that is extra money that paying a car for $17,000 and ended up spending over $33,000 is ridiculous. That money, if I had put that money, if I used that money to invest in myself, maybe go and pay for a course about financial education, it would have moved me much further. Or if I had taken some of that money and went and paid a mentor to learn about real estate investing, I would have started owning assets way back in 2008, 2009, when the market was at the bottom. But I was so focused on showing off, on trying to be somebody that I was not, that the car became my priority and became the money drain for me for several years. So fast forward a few years, I applied after working in the ICU at Hopkins, went to ICU at University of Maryland. Then I applied for anesthesia school, and I got in. And I was like, oh my God. If you know anything about anesthesia school, it's almost impossible to work while you're going to school. The program is so intense, it requires a significant amount of your time. Even if you get to work, it's not going to be that significant amount of hours. So I had to make a decision. Am I going to keep driving this car that has the possibility to break down and cost me another $2,000, which I don't have, or I got to figure something else out? And the decision was easy. So I put some money together, went to the auction, and I bought a Saab for $600, a stick shift Saab. A four-cylinder car, stick shift. The car even had no AC to it. It was a very economical car, very reliable, nice to drive. European made. So that's what I was driving while I was going to anesthesia school. I was driving this Saab that I got for $600. It looked really nice too. One of my friends got me into Saabs, and I saw this. I loved it. So that's the car I was driving while I was going to anesthesia school. And that car taught me a powerful lesson. A car is supposed to be a means of transportation, not a show of wealth, not a tool to feed into your ego, not a tool to feed into peer pressure. That car was so economical. The only thing it costed me was the $600. Zero breakdowns. Oil change back to $30. Gas, I filled my tank once every 2 weeks. And it took me around, took me to school, took me to all my clinical locations. And guess what? In the summer when it was too hot, I put the window down and I got a glass of cold water, or I bought some cold Gatorade and drank it while I was driving the car. That car got me to anesthesia school. And that car experience taught me some very, very important lessons. It's not about how much money you make. You see, there's a limit to the number of hours that we have in a day, which limits the amount of money that you can make by exchanging your time for money. But once you start making that money, when you invest that money into productive investments, you accelerate your path to wealth creation. And that is the lesson that this car taught me, because after I got done with anesthesia school, I could not wait to get rid of that Mercedes. I could not wait to get rid of it. So I put it out for sale. Everywhere I looked, everywhere the prices were ridiculous. Nobody was going to buy a car because at that point it had over 120,000 miles. Nobody wants a used Mercedes with 120,000 miles, because that model after 100,000 miles is just pretty much food for mechanics, like people will call it. So nobody wants that car. So the car I bought for $17,000, spent about $33,000 on it, from car notes to maintaining it over those years. I ended up selling it for $2,700. That is $2,700 just to get rid of it. So I lost a significant amount of my time, the stress that I went through trying to manage this car, and a significant amount of money that I could have used for everything else. But that was a very, very important lesson for me, because after that experience, I knew, like, buying a car should not be something that you stretch to do. While a means of transportation is important, it gets you from point A to point B, there are other smart ways that you could get the car. And that's exactly what I started figuring out how to do. When I started working as a nurse anesthetist, the SAP had run its course. So I paid all cash, went and bought like a nice looking Toyota Camry for about $7,000. That was a car I drove for most of my anesthesia career, Toyota Camry. While everybody was driving in the hospital and all these fancy cars, I was driving my Toyota Camry. And every extra money I was making, I was using it to invest in myself, using it to invest in assets. Started by buying a single family home from money that I saved and partnered with my brother. Went and bought a single family condo, renovated it, put a tenant in there. Now I had assets that were paying me back, not a car that was draining my money. I had zero car note as a nurse anesthetist, zero car note. I had no car note on my Toyota Camry. Very reliable, very good on gas, low maintenance cost. So I didn't have to worry about spending money on a car anymore. Bought our first property, single family, then any extra income I was using, I learned the importance, the whole concept of productive versus unproductive expenses. And my whole goal was to fill my bucket of expense with more productive expenses. And what are examples of productive expenses? Productive expenses are, for example, going and paying for a course or seminar that helps you grow your mind and exposes you to what else is available out there. A productive expense is buying a book that you read and you learn more about your finances and you're able to leverage that knowledge to build yourself forward. A productive expense is probably maybe buying a house or buying a property that gets more money back in your pocket. So I started being intentional about using my money on more productive expenses. And that growth started to happen from the single family property to investing in more guidance, more books. Then I met Tenny because it's interesting how things happen. You know, when you start exposing your mind, when you start growing as an individual, then you start meeting other people that are on the same path of growth with you. And that's exactly what happened to me. I met my first partner, Tenny Tolofari. We were all investing in ourselves in personal development. We connected on that. And then we started a XSITE Capital Investment, which is the private equity platform that focuses on acquiring apartment buildings, you know, and got the opportunity to partner with the amazing CEO, Dr. Julius Oni. And over those years, since 2019, started acquiring true assets that don't only produce income, but also help us save on taxes. I told you there are smarter ways to buy these expenses, which the super wealthy do. Today, I drive a much nicer car than the Saab or the Toyota Camry that I had. I've been blessed to buy a Tesla. I drive the Tesla, but guess what? It was 100% tax write-off. 100% tax write-off. Meaning the total cost of the Tesla was written off in taxes. That's a productive expense because that expense saved me money on taxes and it gets me a reliable form of transportation that gets me from point A to point B. So the super wealthy do this. You see, the society is set up to benefit those that understand the laws of the society. As a business owner, you can buy a car with your business. And if that car is over 6,000 pounds, which my car is, you could write off the entire cost of the car in depreciation. That is a productive expense. Not buying a $17,000 used Mercedes Benz that becomes a money pit. So my experience acquiring that $17,000 Mercedes, although it felt painful going through it, it was actually a blessing in disguise. I learned some very important lessons. It really humbled me. I learned the importance of not leaning into peer pressure and truly listening into myself and listening into my own desires and following my own guiding path. You know, it was that painful experience that contributed to this growth journey that I've been on that has brought me to being one of the co-founders of XSITE Capital Investment. So if I had to do it all over again, will I buy that Mercedes? Uh, I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not sure, but you know, there are no regrets in life. I've learned to accept that every little thing, even the Mercedes, even the mistakes, all contributed to make me the person that I am today. But you don't have to go through that experience to learn it. The benefit. They say smart people learn from their mistakes, but geniuses learn from the mistakes of others. So be a genius. Learn from my mistake. Do not go buy a car that you can't afford, an expensive car that is going to cost you a lot in expenses. You know, use your money, invest in assets, and the most important asset you can invest in is yourself. Learn, educate, because the knowledge you get doesn't go away. Grow your mind, grow your wealth.